You might think the secret to living past 100 lies in a superfood smoothie, a cryotherapy chamber, or that weird mushroom powder your friend swears by. But it turns out, the real magic might be sitting quietly in a bowl of minestrone soup or hiding behind a modest serving of purple sweet potatoes. Welcome to the Blue Zones, the real-life epidemiological unicorns of the world, where people not only live longer, but also better. The question is, can the rest of us learn anything from these long-living legends without moving to a Mediterranean cliffside and herding goats? The 5 regions identified as blue zones: Okinawa, Japan; Sardinia, Italy; Nicoya, Costa Rica; Icaria, Greece; and Loma Linda, California, USA, aren't just quirky, it's on a map. They're global test kitchens where the experiment of resilient aging has quietly succeeded for generations. And while their genetics and lifestyles differ, their diets hold surprising common threads, ones that, fascinatingly, overlap with many components of Western dietary indices like DASH, AHCI, and even the newer Planetary Health Diet Index, PHDI, though with a lot more soul and a lot less quinoa marketing. So, what do these dietary commonalities look like when we strip away the cultural specifics and look at the nutrient patterns? First, they're overwhelmingly plant-based, not vegan, but plants first. Across all blue zones, 90 to 95% of the diet tends to come from whole plant foods. That includes a daily presence of legumes, the humble heroes of centenarian cuisine; vegetables, especially leafy greens; fruits, whole grains, and nuts. Animal proteins, when present, are more like special guests than recurring cast members. Think a few ounces of fish in Icaria or a rare piece of pork in Nicoya on feast days. Compare that to the AHCI, which scores diets higher when they include more nuts, whole grains, and omega-3 rich fish, and lower when they're heavy in red or processed meat. Blue zone diets align beautifully with this framework, just with a bit more home fermentation and fewer protein shakes. Secondly, blue zone diets are stubbornly unprocessed. People eat foods their grandmothers would recognize, not because it's trendy, but because that's what's available, affordable, and culturally embedded. Meals are cooked from scratch, often with seasonal, local ingredients. This translates to low intake of added sugars, refined grains, and industrial oils, precisely the dietary villains targeted by the DASH and AHEI frameworks. So, while no one in Okinawa is checking their sodium to potassium ratio on an app, the nutrient profile of their food ends up hitting many of the same targets. Fiber intake in blue zones is also off the charts, sometimes exceeding 30 to 40 grams per day, thanks to the generous presence of beans, sweet potatoes, whole grains, and greens. This naturally supports glycemic control, gut microbial diversity, and lower inflammation, all linked with reduced chronic disease risk and improved longevity in Western cohort studies. In fact, recent analyses show that fiber may be one of the strongest predictors of healthy aging, particularly in reducing cardiovascular disease and dementia risk, conditions that blue zone elders experience at strikingly lower rates than their Western peers. And let's talk fat, because blue zones don't fear it. They just choose wisely. In Icaria and Sardinia, olive oil reigns supreme, contributing monounsaturated fats and polyphenol that lower inflammation and support brain health. In Okinawa, fats come from tofu, miso, and seaweed, low in saturated fat but rich in anti-inflammatory compounds. These choices mirror the favorable fat profile found in the Mediterranean diet and plant-forward indices, suggesting that the type of fat may be more important than the amount, especially in aging populations. One crucial divergence from Western models is alcohol. While the aimed alternate Mediterranean diet allows for moderate wine consumption, some blue zones like Loma Linda, a community of Seventh-day Adventists, avoid it altogether, and Okinawan elders historically consumed alcohol sparingly, if at all. So while the nightly glass of red wine may be a pleasant addition to some versions of healthy aging, it's clearly not essential. Then there's portion control, though not in the obsessive calorie-counting way. In Okinawa, the concept of hara hachibiyu, eating until 80% full, is a built-in brake on overconsumption. Meals are eaten slowly, often in community settings, which allows satiety signals to kick in before overindulgence. This matches findings from Western research showing that reduced caloric intake, without malnutrition, may slow aging pathways via mechanisms like reduced mTOR signaling and oxidative stress. Of course, the blue zones aren't just about what's on the plate, they're also about how, when, and with whom it's eaten. Communal meals, regular movement, low stress, and strong social ties all create a fertile ground for dietary patterns to work their magic. But that's not to dismiss the diet, it's to emphasize that context matters. A bowl of lentils eaten at a quiet table with friends in Sardinia might land differently on the aging trajectory than the same bowl scarfed down in front of a Zoom screen at 10 p.m. So, what's the practical takeaway for policymakers and public health experts? It's this: longevity isn't a secret hidden in exotic ingredients. It's a predictable outcome of consistently unglamorous food choices, made palatable through culture, accessibility, and community. If Western dietary indices want to support centenarian health, they might do well to double down on fiber, simplicity, and whole food plant diversity, and a little less on protein grams and trending oils. In the end, the Blue Zone diet isn't about perfection, it's about patterns. And those patterns are refreshingly replicable. Beans every day, meat once in a while, nothing from a foil wrapper, and always a little laughter at the table. It's not a fad. It's a lifestyle that hums quietly through time and leaves a very long, very healthy trail in its wake.